More than half of Gen Z workers say they would rather be unemployed than stuck in a job that makes them miserable. Let that sink in for a moment. Not underpaid. Not underappreciated. Just miserable. A full 54% of Gen Z respondents in a recent Deloitte survey said they would walk away from a paycheck entirely before tolerating a job that kills their sense of purpose. That is not laziness. That is a complete and total restructuring of what work is supposed to mean. In the next 10 minutes, you are going to find out exactly why an entire generation is turning its back on the traditional 9-to-5, what is driving this shift at a psychological and economic level, and why the companies and industries that refuse to adapt are already losing the war for talent. And here is the part that will genuinely surprise you, the thing nobody in corporate America wants to admit: Gen Z might actually be right. Stay with us because this one is going to change how you think about work. To understand why Gen Z is rejecting traditional career paths, you have to understand the world they grew up watching. They did not just read about the 2008 financial crisis in a textbook. They lived in its aftermath. They watched their parents get laid off from jobs those parents had been loyal to for decades. They watched people do everything right, get the degree, keep the head down, climb the ladder, and still lose the house. That experience did not teach Gen Z to work harder within the system. It taught them the system could fail them at any moment regardless of how hard they worked. Then came social media. For the first time in human history, teenagers could watch a 23-year-old build a business from a bedroom, grow it to 6 figures, and document every step in real time. The barrier between dreaming about an alternative career and actually seeing one lived out loud collapsed completely. Gen Z did not just have role models who broke the mold. They had thousands of them, accessible 24 hours a day, speaking directly into their earbuds. And then COVID-19 happened. The pandemic did not create Gen Z's skepticism of traditional work. It accelerated it by about 20 years. When the entire global economy shifted to remote work almost overnight, it proved something that traditional employers had been insisting was impossible for decades. Work does not require an office. Productivity does not require surveillance. And for millions of young workers entering the workforce during that period, returning to a rigid in-person structure afterward felt less like returning to normal and more like going backward. Here's where the numbers get genuinely striking. According to a McKinsey report from 2023, 62% of Gen Z workers say flexibility in when and where they work is now a top priority, higher than salary increases. A LinkedIn workforce study found that Gen Z is the generation most likely to turn down a job offer specifically because of company culture, with 44% citing toxic environments as a deal-breaker before they even started. And Gallup data shows that Gen Z has the lowest levels of workplace engagement of any generation currently in the labor force. Only 31% describe themselves as actively engaged at work. The rest are either checked out or actively looking for the exit. But here's what nobody talks about. The disengagement is not about entitlement. It is about information. Gen Z is the most educated generation in history when it comes to understanding mental health, burnout, exploitation, and the true cost of trading your time for someone else's profit. They know what hustle culture does to a human body over 30 years. They watched it happen to the millennials ahead of them, and they decided they wanted no part of that deal. This awareness is showing up in real behavioral changes. The freelance economy has exploded, and Gen Z is leading it. According to Upwork's Freelance Forward report, Gen Z freelancers grew by nearly 50% in just 2 years between 2020 and 2022. The creator economy, estimated to be worth over $100 billion globally, is now the career aspiration of roughly 27% of Gen Z, more than the percentage who want to be doctors, lawyers, or engineers. Not because YouTube fame is easy, but because ownership feels more secure than employment ever did. The shift goes deeper than just career choice. Gen Z is fundamentally redefining what success looks like. For previous generations, success followed a very specific sequence. Graduate, get hired, earn stability, then maybe find meaning. For Gen Z, that sequence is reversed. Meaning comes first. If the meaning is not there from day one, the job is already on borrowed time. This is why the term quiet quitting became so viral in 2022. And here is the irony that most mainstream media missed entirely. Quiet quitting was not a Gen Z invention in terms of behavior. Workers have been disengaging for generations. What was new was that Gen Z gave it a name, talked about it openly, and refused to be ashamed of it. They normalized the idea that doing exactly what your job description says and nothing more is not a personal failure. It is a boundary. Companies that understood this adapted fast. Companies that called it laziness are now facing a talent pipeline crisis that is going to define the next decade of business. Microsoft's 2023 Work Trend Index found that 64% of Gen Z workers would consider leaving a job that required them to be in the office 5 days a week. Remote-first companies are attracting disproportionately high-quality Gen Z applicants not because those candidates are avoiding work but because they are choosing where to direct their energy with unprecedented intentionality. What does the rejection of traditional career paths actually look like in practice? It looks like a 22-year-old turning down a management consulting offer to build a Shopify store. It looks like a college graduate choosing a $60,000 remote role over a $90,000 in-office position because the math, when you factor in commuting costs, office clothing, and lost time, actually favors the remote job. It looks like entire graduating classes treating their first employer not as a career destination but as a 1 or 2 year experience to extract skills from before moving on. The Bureau of Labor Statistics data backs this up. The average job tenure for workers between 18 and 24 has dropped to just over 1 year. Gen Z is not staying. They are sampling. They are building a portfolio of skills across multiple environments rather than a single deep career track with one employer. And the employers who see this as disloyalty are missing the point entirely. Here's another thing nobody in a boardroom wants to hear. Gen Z's instinct about career diversification is economically rational. In an era of AI disruption, where entire job categories are being automated at a pace we have never seen before, placing all of your identity and financial security in one employer and one skill set is arguably the riskiest career strategy possible. The generation that refuses to do it might not be naive. They might just be the first one paying close enough attention to act accordingly. The real-world implications of this shift are enormous. Industries built on long-term employee loyalty, finance, law, medicine, government, are struggling to attract Gen Z talent at the rates they need to function. The legal profession, for example, saw a 14% drop in the number of Gen Z applicants choosing law school between 2019 and 2022. Medical schools are reporting increasing numbers of applicants who explicitly cite work-life integration as a non-negotiable, not a preference but a requirement. These are not small ripples. These are structural tremors in industries that have not changed their fundamental value proposition to employees in over a century. The generation that grew up with algorithmic content, global connectivity, and a front-row seat to every broken promise. The traditional career path ever made is not going to be convinced by a pension plan and a corner office. They want autonomy. They want transparency. They want to know that what they are building on a Tuesday afternoon at 2 in the afternoon actually connects to something that matters to them personally.